good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining. Let's get started with this webinar. So I'm Victor. I'm VP Marketing at Strapi. I'm based out of San Francisco Bay Area. And today we have Matt Milburn, who's tech lead at Plenti, joining us from Oklahoma. So thank you, Matt, for joining. And we have Nicholas Jaconia from Vercel joining us from Japan. So I want to give a big special shout out to Nicholas, who's joining us at 2 a.m. in the morning and staying up. So if you can give him a big shout out in the chat, I think that'd be great. And a big shout out for Matt, who will be doing a live demo today. So we ask the demo gods to be kind with Matt as he goes through the live demo later. So speaking of the agenda, so we'll start with a quick introduction about Strapi, Next.js, Vercel, Plenti. Then we'll talk about some of the pain points of WordPress or other traditional CMSs that led Matt and the Plenti team to consider a migration for their corporate website. We'll discuss some of the Strapi and Vercel evaluation criteria that led to the decision. And then we'll move on to the live demo where Matt will show the Strapi admin panel and some of the specificities of the app. And we'll then move on to lessons learned and benefits and wrap up with Q&A. So we'll have plenty of time for question at the end. Feel free to submit your questions there's a question button at the bottom of the screen here. You can also post in the chat. That's what we'll monitor that as well. So that's the agenda. Let's get started. So we'll start with a quick introduction of Plenti. Matt, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Plenti is a finance technology company based in Sydney, Australia. They are Australia's #1 rated consumer lender for personal loans, car loans, debt consolidation, and more. They take what they do very seriously, and they hired X-Team to bring in a developer to supercharge their website for SEO and speed. Those were the top priorities, SEO and speed. Kind of one and the same thing. And that's where I came in. I was assigned to the project as a WordPress developer originally. And it was a good WordPress site. It was really good looking. It was still a WordPress site and suffered from WordPress pain points. And during a rebranding, we took the opportunity to switch everything into something completely new, faster, better, happier. And that's where we are today.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So a quick word about Next.js as well. Nicholas, you want to mention a bit about Next.js and Vercel?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicholas, a Japan-based customer success manager at Vercel, the company behind Next.js. I will talk in a little more depth about why Vercel and Next.js are instrumental in helping companies break away from the monolithic paradigm and transition to a headless approach. So Vercel and Next.js are purpose-built to enable the headless or composable approach. So Next.js is Vercel's open source React framework and the most popular framework in the React ecosystem. With over 3 million downloads each week on NPM, Next.js has become the framework of choice for initiatives of all sizes. Next.js turbocharges your application with server-side rendering for fast initial load times and SEO, the best developer experience with minimal configuration, TypeScript support, hot reloading, and an intuitive file system-based routing, including automatic code splitting and production optimizations, the ability to run your entire serverless front-end stack on a local development machine, and Next.js applications are automatically optimized, SEO-friendly, fast, and scalable. So Next.js enables developers to build web applications using their already favorite React patterns and libraries and deploy them on Vercel's Global Edge network for optimal performance. So together, Vercel and Next.js remove those infrastructure complexities and empower developers to build and deploy amazing web experiences. So they make it possible to go from an idea to a globally scaled web application within seconds. Next slide. So for those that are not familiar, Vercel is the platform for front-end developers, providing the speed and reliability that innovators need to create at the moment of inspiration. By providing the toolkit that front-end teams love, Vercel unlocks developer potential and enables you to go from that idea to your global application within seconds. So companies, teams, and individual developers using Vercel can benefit from a fully managed, highly optimized experience that enables customers like Plenti, for example, Under Armour, the Washington Post, or even Zapier to build delightful user experiences. Some of the most recognizable brands in the world, like GitHub and Dior, are reinventing themselves constantly with Next.js. So together, Vercel and Next.js remove infrastructure complexities and empower developers to build and deploy these amazing web experiences. So these tools help companies of all sizes leverage modern technologies, increase developer productivity, gain speed, reliability, and reduce technical debt. As a customer success manager, I am often in the front lines where I've observed that the monolithic approach, where the front end and back end are tightly coupled together, often through an all-in-one platform like WordPress, usually leads to the same kind of issues. Slow site performance and load times. Monolithic platforms have to handle both the front and back end, leading to code bloat and slower page loads, frequent downtime and reliability issues, as a single point of failure can bring down the entire site. Even difficulty hiring and retaining developers. Finding developers proficient in a single platform can be very challenging. Slow development cycles, tight coupling makes changes difficult and time consuming. Growing technical debt, legacy code, and architecture choices accumulate over time. An inability to use modern technologies, so you're limited to the capabilities of the platform that you choose. Next slide, sorry. So in contrast, the headless approach decouples that front end from the back end. So the front end can be built with a modern framework like Next.js, while the back end can leverage API-first content management systems like Strapi. And this approach leads to significant benefits. Faster development cycles, the front end and back end can evolve independently, speeding up changes and iterations. Improved site performance and SEO, like Matt was mentioning, the front end can be optimized without the bloat of a monolithic platform. Easier hiring of front end and back end developers, so as you can hire more specialists in modern technologies. Use of best of breed technologies, as you're not limited to a single platform, you can adopt the best tools for your needs. A reduced technical debt, modern code and architecture choices can be made without the constraints of legacy platforms. Vercel provides the purpose-built platform to develop and deploy Next.js applications at scale. So key benefits include the global edge network. Applications are deployed to several edge locations worldwide for fast load times everywhere. As you mentioned, I'm in Japan, 2 a.m. I go to a website deployed on Vercel. It's always fast. Continuous deployment. Code is deployed instantly on every push to your Git repository. Zero configuration. No setting up infrastructure. It just works. Analytics and monitoring. You can gain insights into performance, errors, your traffic, and more with built-in tools. Collaboration features. Share comments on previews, invite teammates to collaborate, control permissions of your projects. So together, Vercel and Next.js empower developers to build fast, scalable web experiences without worrying about infrastructure on complexities. That's how you go from an idea to a globally scaled web application within seconds. I hope this in-depth overview helps. And yep, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicholas. So Strapi is an open source headless CMS, 100% JavaScript, supports TypeScript. So the backend is Node.js and the admin panel is in React. And so the main benefit is that it's fully customizable and extensible. And I'll let Matt share more about that. But I want to explain briefly, I think some of the reasons why the world is still happening from traditional CMSs to headless CMS. So in the past, traditional CMSs were mostly built for public-facing use cases such as corporate website or e-commerce. But today, what we hear is that developers are adopting CMSs for a greater number of use cases, such as documentations or brand book, learning management systems, all kinds of use cases that were not necessarily built on top of a CMS before. And they also need to manage the content at scale and essentially support new formats, new devices, and new capabilities. So the more use cases we have, the more stakeholders are involved, and each of those stakeholders have their own set of needs and requirements. So the developer wants performance, security, the speed of development, the freedom to use different tools and framework. The content editor, they didn't feel so much the pain of traditional CMS, but they want to publish content rapidly and autonomously so that they can iterate and push changes to the website quickly. The designer also need to ensure brand design consistency, and so sometimes those requirements and needs kind of conflict with one another. So as we move from monoliths to microservices, CMSs have to work nicely with a long tail of services such as search and e-commerce and caching and hosting and you name it. And so even the way the website are built are changing with front-end framework like Next.js taking the world by storm. So it's the Strapi is kind of right in that movement, and with its customization capability, the extensible architecture, and a large open source community. So there's about 52,000 stars on GitHub today. Strapi was downloaded more than 3 million times last year. A bit under Next.js, but hopefully one day we can reach that level. And so yeah, that's what makes Strapi unique today. So in terms of products, so there's two self-hosted editions. So you have the Strapi open source project. So again, you have support for both REST and GraphQL, and gives you flexible content structure, a media library, content internationalization, and custom roles for managing different permission. Then we have the enterprise edition of Strapi, which includes features such as SSO and audit log and more coming soon, such as review workflows and also some support services such as CSM and SLAs. And we are actively working on Strapi Cloud, which should be coming very soon, which includes not only like a server and an easy way and a quick way to deploy your Strapi application, but also a database, email provider, CDN out of the box. So that's essentially what Strapi is, different products available at the moment and in the very near future. And so today there's a number of large companies that are building their content strategy on Strapi. You can see all the great logos here. So for instance, like GC.co, it's a big advertising company. They use Strapi to power those bus digital signage. That's really cool use case with more than 55 million impressions. Toyota has built a number of projects with Strapi, including corporate website and an application to manage different marketing banners in a mobile application. So I'm not going to go into all the use cases here, but we're really proud of our list of customers. So now I'm going to hand it over back to Matt to discuss some of the pain point of traditional CMS like WordPress.
Thank you. Thanks for the big introduction, guys. So yeah, like I mentioned, originally this website was a WordPress project, and that was okay. I was working on WordPress projects, but at the time I really was jealous that other projects were moving to React and not afraid to leave the monolith behind. In fact, I was working on two different WordPress projects at the same time for Plenti and another company. The Plenti project was very clean WordPress project, probably the cleanest, best example I've seen of a WordPress project. And even then, it wasn't really good enough. It still had really ugly code, like a lot of escaping of anything that was rendered to the page had to be double escaped, triple escaped, just over and over. Managing the code in the code base, things didn't feel like they belonged anywhere. You just had to pick a place, make a folder, stick it there. But security, wow, security in WordPress is wild. And it varies across different WordPress hosting providers. They have different standards. Some care, some don't. And with different WordPress hosting providers, they will typically review your code because they're concerned about security issues, and they don't want you to even be independent enough to just manage your own code, your own application. And what I was finding in this process was that as I was having strangers review my code, they all had different standards. and I would submit code, and I would have parts of the code base reviewed that was not even part of the submission of the code update. A big example, this is the big one that stood out to me, was the footer was outputting the date, like the 4-digit year. And PHP has a built-in date function. You should be able to trust that, right? There should be no hacks, no security issues. And the reviews started coming back that I needed to escape the date function. And I argued with them. And I said, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? And spending day after day arguing with reviewers about mundane, trivial things. I don't do that anymore. I don't even have anybody reviewing my code from across the world. I don't have strangers reviewing my code. I have me and other peers reviewing it. Maintenance on these projects. WordPress projects have a total lack of consistency. There's not really like I said, there's not really a place for things to go. There are some places like must-use plugins, themes. But do you really use themes? Do you make a website and then change the theme over and over again? I've never done it. I created a Christmas theme one time for a website, and we used it for a week, and it was a great amount of effort for nothing. So there was just so many features in WordPress that I don't even want to use anymore because I don't know why I keep jumping through the hoops to use them. And like it was mentioned before, a lot of tech debt stacks up quick. If you start using third-party plugins, you start adding more and more features, your team changes up. Maybe some people leave the team and new people come in. You have to onboard people all over again, and you're not going to be able to tell them this is just like your last project. You're going to say, I know you used to do it this way, but we decided this project does it a completely unique way, and you're going to have to learn that. It takes too long to onboard people. With a React application, Next.js especially, if you've worked on a React application before, I'm confident that you'll just jump right into a Next.js application and start working. Like on day one or week one, that's really fast. I've heard developers say on average 6 months for a developer to be 100% onboarded where they can tell you anything about the code base. And that's pretty true. It sounds like a long time, but for 100% understanding, 6 months is pretty good. For this type of tech stack, I would give you a month or less. I mean, if you're working with me and you have me just guiding you through it, I mean, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, you'll be a master. You'll be great. Let's talk about code quality. Like, do you love the way your PHP and HTML look when they're jumbled together and you have to open and close PHP tags to render HTML, or you have to stick things into functions and split that up? Again, it's not consistent. It's not very good to look at. It leads to programming issues. You can make mistakes. It's more error prone. Performance for the traditional monolith. Every page view, it's a round trip to the server. Most of the data you're collecting and the action you're taking doesn't need to happen over and over again. It just needs to happen when you arrive on the site. And then if you request a new page, you should just get enough data, just the minimal data to get that new page. Another thing that WordPress lacks is there's really no optimization features. It's just a platform to throw code into. They don't have built-in features for images. They don't have built-in features for fonts or any other type of scripts or third-party. Any of your pain points for loading performance, they don't have any tools for that. You might be able to find a plugin that will take over the work, and maybe it will create the meta tags and do a little bit here and there, but honestly, you can do that. You don't need a plugin to create a meta tag for you. It's completely unnecessary. Development time. This is probably the biggest thing I can say is development time is like nothing. I don't even think about development time anymore. When my team says, hey, we want to make a new content component, we're going to change the style guide entirely, I'm just sitting there going, great, let me know when you have that ready, because I'm ready to go. It's already in my head. And we'll probably get, if we're changing the entire style guide, I don't know, give me a week. Just me, no one else. And that's really awesome. That's independence, that's efficiency, speed, accuracy. I mean, so many people on our team, when I deliver the update and they get to QA and review, it comes back with little to no response other than, wow, this looks great, perfect, put it in production. And I'm like, really? You don't want to? We've got time now. We can add some more stuff into it. So we'll probably throw in new features. And that's a wonderful thing. As a developer, you never want to just get hung up on some trivial, mundane setup code. You really want to just focus on features. And if you spend too much time getting set up, if you have to configure your Webpack and do all of that, by the end of that, you're going to be tired. You're going to say, okay, I'll do that the next day. Most of the time, I can complete everything for a single task within a day or two, unless it's something really big. One of the big questions that's always asked is, you could still use WordPress as a headless CMS. Why not just do that? But why? Why would you do it? Why would you take it halfway whenever you could just take it all the way? You can go to Strapi, Next.js, or something different. The thing with WordPress is if you're using it as a headless CMS, you're still doing 80% of your work in WordPress. Most of the time, if I'm using WordPress, most of the time I'm just configuring the WordPress admin to make things editable, and then rendering it on the front end. That's not such a big deal. And with Next.js, still not a big deal. But the difference is with Strapi, it's designed to rapidly create API models and whatever else you need. And it just goes so quickly that it's the opposite of WordPress. You spend less time configuring the admin and more time configuring your product features. And that's really good. You should be spending more time on your product features and not configuring input fields, not configuring site settings. But it can be challenging talking to your team about making such a big paradigm shift, especially if they've been using WordPress for years, if not decades. Only 2 decades. It hasn't been around that long. It feels like it's been around forever, and that's just because it's been around since the beginning. And most of us started with WordPress. We were programmers for the first time when we used WordPress, and now it's hard to let go because that's the way we learned everything. I got to tell you, the grass is greener on this side. The grass is dying on WordPress side. You have so much stronger tools with Next.js and Strapi. Programmers, engineers, you'll be stronger. You'll be thinking in a more intelligent way about your application. You'll be more creative. You'll be more accurate, for sure. I could honestly go on and on about the pain points. We could probably move on to the next slide here. Maybe take more into the question section. All right.
Yeah. I think you want to move on to the evaluation criteria and maybe talk about why you chose Strapi and Next.js and Vercel.
Sure. So when we were looking around, we were doing a lot of research because this was it felt like a big move. As I said before, we were going through it. Plenti was going through a rebrand. They were previously known as Rate Setter. They started rebranding in late 2020, and that was just the perfect opportunity. Everything was going to be new. The logo, the branding, the theme, every single thing was brand new. And the team at Plenti started doing their own research. They were tech savvy enough to do some research and talk about headless CMS. And it just turned out that I was doing the same thing, and we both didn't know that. So we came together. They were surprised that it was even on the table. They just wanted to talk about it just so I could say yes or no. But I was already there saying, hey, I can have a proof of concept ready after next weekend. And that's what happened. Very easy to set up. And so when it came to choosing Strapi Next.js, we had to make really good decisions because we needed autonomy, we needed ease of use, and we really needed to be able to customize Strapi. We needed it to do what we wanted. And out of the box, Strapi will create API models, content components, and a little more, but it didn't do things, it didn't just present a page model in front of you. You had to create that. And that sounds like, oh, I have to do work now. And you don't. You click text field, title field, content field, and after a few clicks, you've got a page model, and it's looking, I don't want to say it looks like WordPress, but it's feeling like the tool that you used to use. And then on top of that, you needed to edit navigation pages, like navigation menus and all of your pages. You needed to nest pages under other pages. And that functionality isn't part of Strapi's out-of-the-box features. But they give you tools to create what you want. You can create custom fields, custom plugins, middleware, etc. Lifecycle hooks. So when you create, update, delete something, you can intercept that, add some data, modify some data. You can just do anything that you need to do pretty much. So with Strapi, we compared other solutions like Contentful. That's a really big name. Sanity.io is one I had not heard of, but I was checking it out. It looked really interesting, looked competitive and like a possible contender. And of course, there's Strapi and some others. Strapi was an easy choice simply because of the fact that I can create any React component to serve as a input component. So I don't have to use out-of-the-box input, drop-down menu, checkbox. I can create anything I want to create. Range slider, modal dialog selector, easy stuff to do, and they give you all the components in a component library and documentation to back it up. It's real easy. Another big thing we needed was a full JavaScript stack. I wanted it all to be JavaScript. I was tired of mixing PHP with HTML and looking at how ugly that looked and wishing that it looked better. So now we're working with Node and React, and everything is seamless and clean and looks like it belongs together. Easy integration, automation, like mentioned before, it integrates with your GitHub repo, and there's just no configuration. You barely do anything. Customization, we kind of talked about that, and we'll talk more about how that was implemented for custom features like menus, permalinks. We'll see that in the demo. Moving on to the front end, this is Next.js. So our criteria here was very similar to the criteria for Strapi. We needed autonomy, ease of use. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm the only developer on this project for both Strapi and Next.js, if that tells you anything about how easy this is to use. To be fair, I've been a web developer for almost over 20 years, so I do have a lot of experience. But with that experience, I am confidently telling you that even if you've been doing this for 3 to 5 years, you should still be able to jump in and be as efficient as I am. Or maybe you have a second developer. Maybe you buddy up with somebody. You're still as efficient as I am, and you're lightweight as a team. So back to Next.js. Speed was our #1 priority. We needed speed, and we needed as much of it as possible, even if we had to do something crazy to gain 1 point. And that is all just for SEO purposes. It's how you compete today for search engine optimization. It's the #1 thing you should be doing, is increasing the speed and load performance. Next, we just needed to use REST Gatsby was an option, a competitor option to Next.js, and Gatsby focuses a lot on GraphQL. We compared Gatsby to Next.js, and Gatsby just felt a little too specialized for what it was doing. It really leans on GraphQL, and the more I was testing that out, the less I cared. I've always used REST. REST is ready to go, and it's easy. And it's like there's no reason that you should really need to abandon REST for GraphQL, and we just didn't need that. So we did not use Gatsby. Next.js just kept throwing features at us. Like it was, without begging us, it was begging us to adopt Next.js. It just had everything. Now, Vercel makes Next.js, and they host it. And my next question was, how are we going to host Strapi? How are we going to host Next.js? Well, with Strapi, they did not have the Strapi Cloud at the time, but yes, we are going to be moving to Strapi Cloud very soon because it's coming up. But instead, we used Heroku just because it was a fast, autonomous way of hosting the application. And it's been working fine. But again, Strapi Cloud is superior for that. Now, when it comes to hosting Next.js, I was a little hesitant about Vercel because I didn't even know who Vercel was. I thought Next.js just was a standalone thing made by Next.js. Turned out I was wrong about that, but I was hesitant. And so I looked around. I said, how could I host a Next.js application without Vercel? I know they have a lot of features, but that sounds like kind of gimmicky. Like you made this and oh, now you'll host it for how much money? The price was no issue. It was very competitive. It was perfectly fine. It wasn't intimidating, didn't bother me. Other hosting options meant we would probably have to bring in more DevOps resources to get it done. And I didn't really want to do that. I just didn't want to bother other people on our team. If I had to do that, I felt like this didn't make enough sense to go forward with. But again, one person on the team did the whole thing. Sorry, Camille, if you're watching, you helped. We had one developer help to get this through the finish line. But since then, it's just been me. So yeah, when we were choosing hosting, Vercel was easy. They just, again, just like Next.js, they just kept throwing features at us. Like for instance, the web vitals. We're no longer relying on Lighthouse reports to check the performance of our website. We do use it to, take a look. But with Vercel, you get live data, like server log type of data about your users' experience on your website. And when you look at the vitals, your dashboard in Vercel, you get to see real statistics about your user's experience, and it gets scored from 0 to 100, just like Lighthouse. I don't know if you've ever used Lighthouse before. Lighthouse is very harsh on your website, and it does not forgive third-party scripts. It'll tell you that third-party scripts like Google Tag Manager need to be optimized, and you can't do anything about that. So Vercel's web vitals metrics are far more accurate, far more valuable to me, because I can see something happening today, and I can look at the page that it's happening on, and I can go to that page, and then I can use a Lighthouse tool to really dive in deeper and see what's going wrong. I can say today that our mobile score for web vitals is 96. It's holding 96, and it's starting to creep to 97. And that is fantastic. Our web vitals with the WordPress website, web vitals around that time were kind of new in like 2018-ish, but running Lighthouse reports, you could see we were getting probably like a 75 for mobile score on web vitals. And then nowadays we're pushing 97. And I fully intend to push it to 100 because it just keeps crawling point by point. And I can see that I can achieve what will feel like a perfect application. I probably shouldn't even say perfect application, but still, if you saw what I'm seeing, you would agree. I think that's it for this slide.
Yeah, I think it's time for a live demo. Who is excited about the live demo?
So we're going to take a tour of the Strapi application, and then we're going to create a brand new content component right here and show it on the website, just to see how easy this is.
Do you want to start sharing your screen, Matt?
Yes. Close that. I'm going to go ahead and share the entire screen here. All right. We all good?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So this is Strapi on the homepage. You have your content manager. I'll go to that in a second. Content type builder. You'll notice we are running locally, so I can use the content type builder. This doesn't run in production, but content type builder shows you all your content types. So you have different pages, page models, a guide page, a help page, a generic page. Back up top, you have a blog post. That's also a page. Everything else is just another data source. So frequently asked questions, title and content, just like you would expect. Authors, all of it is just plain old data sources. But you should remember, in WordPress, you don't get to do that. You get to create, like if you wanted to make, they have author built in, but if you wanted to make a frequently asked question, that would be a blog post type or a taxonomy, something. And you would your terminology in your mind, you're saying, okay, I want to make a blog post, but it's not a blog post. It's a frequently asked question, and it doesn't show up in the blog post index and blah, blah, blah. You have to disable everything. You're not making a blog post here. You're just making whatever you decided to call it and whatever fields you gave it. You create these creatures. You do all of this yourself. Oops. So here's all of our collection types. It's not that long of a list. A lot of them have a category and a type. Type is just a secondary category, so you know. They're pretty simple. We'll get into the page model. That's kind of the heart of it all. Close this collection types. And down here we have components. We have a lot of components, actually. Components are content blocks. So up here, start at the top, you could add buttons. You can add multiple buttons, the title, URL, and we'll get a closer look at this in a second. This is what we're going to create. You can add an iframe. You can add carousels, images, etc. Back to these, and then we have these meta components for like SEO, page options. So if you wanted to disable like navigation or something to make a landing page, you can do that. Product items, product modules to make landing pages and product pages, etc. You know, it's all in there. Calculator tools, just good stuff. So yes, you would create all of this through this interface, or you could type it manually. Now, before we get into the page model, tell me if I'm jumping ahead too quick. Did you want to look at this menus, navigation editing, before we get into the page? Let's see. So one of the things we needed to create for Strapi that did not come right out of the box was the ability to edit your navigation menus. It's something that you see in WordPress. And to be honest, navigation menus don't get modified or updated more than once or twice a year, even if you're working with this type of website where you have hundreds of pages. But it's not nice to do that to your users. They need the ability to change pages in navigation. And so this was a plugin that I created, and it's in the Strapi marketplace. You can use this, and I encourage you to. This is how we build our navigation. So I'll show you this right now. We'll create an item and you'll see it on the homepage. Not running yet, are we? Yes, we are. I'll let the homepage run. So we've got the borrow invest links, login, and the menu links over here. I'm gonna go ahead and add that here. Let's add it to this. So this is our menu editing. You click on a menu item, you can edit the title, URL. We have custom fields over here. So if it had a different title for mobile, you can do that. We have an icon selector. This is not built into Strapi. This is something that we made for our application. It's a custom field. We have over 100 SVG icons that you can add in the website. So if you click it, this is the custom field we made. You can scroll through, select an icon. You can search for an icon, which is really nice, especially if you have over 100. Click finish, and there you go. That's a custom field. That took me an hour to do, and it was the first time I ever did it. And so now when I make another custom field, I could probably take it a lot further with an hour's worth of time. And then, of course, you can add relations, find like loans and whatnot. This all comes into play on the front end. So yeah, let's add one so we can see it when we go back to the homepage. Let's say demo link, and I'm not going to really link it to anything. Save it. And I'm going to move it all the way up to the top. All right, let's save that. Come back over here and refresh. There's your demo link. So very easy to do. That's your menus updating. Now, something that's really important to know about this versus WordPress is when you update your page on WordPress, it's going to be live as soon as you click save. But that's not the case here. So one thing you see here is we have a Vercel deploy plugin. I'll show you. I'm not going to actually deploy it, but whenever you do make changes in Strapi and you want it to show up on your website, you have to deploy your application, which means it will rebuild and all of your pages will rebuild. They're all static. They're not touching the server anymore. But we'll come back to that. So let's go to the content manager. This is everything. We'll go down to the page because this is where we spend most of our time. Just like content type builder lists everything here from our pages to our content categories or content sources. And this is all of our pages. We have 284 regular pages, probably over 100 blog posts, and then 100 or more of guides and help pages, totaling to about 600-700 pages on the website. That's a lot of pages, but it doesn't mean that the site's going to run too slow or the content management system is going to run too slow. I mean, I say the more pages you have, the more stress you put on the database, and it will run slower, but it's not like WordPress, where the more plugins and more pages you have, you get worried because you can feel how slow it's getting. That's not the case here. You need tens of thousands of pages to really drag your experience down. So let's look at the page model. This is a demo parent page. I already created this, but it's empty. And I'm about to create a new page too for you. Demo parent. So here's the top of our page. You got the title, you got the slug, that's the URL of the page, and then you have the parent. And notice that the personal loans is the parent, and over here, personal loans is added before the actual unique part of this page, this page's URL. So if I delete it, it goes away. And let's add it back. Oh, wrong personal loans. There's a few personal loans pages. There we go. All right. So down here, if you want to add content to the page, there's a dynamic zone in Strapi. You can add all kinds of content components. We have several, as you saw, we have several of them, and they're categorized and they're easy to work with. I'm not going to add anything to this page because we're going to do that on the live demo. And this page is just a throwaway page. This page only exists to be the parent page of the next page that we're going to look at. But anyway, I can type anything I want to do here. And yeah, I'll get back into the content components soon. Disclaimers are at the bottom of all of our pages. So I can come in here and look up a disclaimer. Boom, that's done. And then down below, like I mentioned, the content for meta tags, SEO related content. You can hide a page from robots. You can change the canonical URL, etc. And this is a very simple component. Strapi has a Strapi has an SEO component or an SEO plugin. We're not using it currently, but we're looking to use it very soon. This is just something that we used much earlier on, and it's been serving us well, but it's always great to use the built-in stuff in the first class components from Strapi and Next.js. So yeah, that's the page model. It's very basic. It doesn't come out of Strapi on its own. You just have to create this title, this slug field, and then you add one plugin to do the permalinks. Everything else is a Strapi feature. It's super easy to put together. So now I think it's time we do like a real demo to show how we create a feature. What do you think? Oops. All right, lots of thumbs up. That's good. Okay. First thing first, we're going to go to the content type builder. What we're going to do, we're going to create a header, a new header with title, text, and image for our website. So imagine your client, your partner project, they come along and say, hey, we have some new ideas. We're going to create a new header, a new carousel, etc. All right, well, let's create a new header. First, we're going to go into the content type builder, go into components, call it demo header. We're going to create a new component, add it to regular content, Okay. Now for this component, we're going to give it a title. There's your title. Some rich text content like paragraphs, buttons, etc. Let's call that content. Add a field. Now we're going to have an image. Call it image. And we don't want videos or other things, so we're just going to limit it to images. And finish that. So there's the component. And save it. Strapi, since we changed a model definition, Strapi is going to restart. Next, that's done. There's demo header. We're going to go to our page model because now we want to use demo header on a page. And we're going to add the demo header to the list of content components. Done. Save that, restart again. Okay, so next we're going to create a new page that uses the demo header. Let's go over here to page. And if you're timing this, by the way, don't bother. It's going to take 5 minutes. All right, new page. And we'll call it demo. I want to give it a parent page. That demo parent, remember, demo parent has personal loans as its parent. So I'm going to click it, and you see it has the full chain of pages right here. Get rid of that one. And that's looking good. Now we have nested pages. I cannot type on top of this blue text. That's good. I can't change any of that. Publish date. I'm not going to fill that out because when I save it, I have a lifecycle hook that automatically does that for me. And I can also change it anytime I want. Get out of here. There we go. Before I do the content, let's add some basic stuff. Let's get that general disclaimer. So if you're watching right now, the way I have this disclaimer set up, it's actually set up in an old style. Notice these two fields right here. What's happening is this component, if I had another one, these are two separate components, and each component has a disclaimer field. Strapi recently added a new feature where I don't have to do this anymore. Instead, I will just have this right here, this disclaimer and these two fields, and I can have a has many relationship, which will let me add as many as I want, and they will stay in order. That's the big deal. So those items would stay in order. But for now, for at least the next week or so, it's going to look like that. So anyway, general disclaimer. Now let's go down to our SEO section. Let's just, what do we add in? Let's add the floating content or call to action. Let's say testing, call to action. Add a little button here. No, learn more. All right, good enough. Yeah. Now the content. Let's add our new header. Here's our demo header. Let's call it demo header. Add some placeholder text, some Latin text. Everybody loves that. Add a call to action button here. I'm going to stop in a second and show you how I'm typing this. Where did this come from? These tools right here. And then let's add an image. Let's go for our team image. Nice. Okay. I'm going to add two more just for fun. There's a spacer. Just throw some space on the page. And then a blank text box. Thanks for joining today. And let's make that text center align, enlarge it a bit. Okay. What is this right here? This is not from Strapi. This is actually a library called Editor.js. It's very customizable. You can create editable HTML elements or editable components. If you've ever used the block editor in WordPress, in their WordPress block editor, that's probably going to sound familiar here. And that's something I really wanted, was the block editor from WordPress. The block editor from WordPress is the greatest thing they've ever done, and it's still not good enough. That thing increases your development time tenfold. That's what I mean by you'll be spending too much time in WordPress admin configuring features. But look how long you saw me do this, spend minutes. So with Editor.js, you can create tools. This is just a paragraph. You can create these little icons to modify these tools to create small text, large text, and whatnot. This is one that I created myself. It just makes buttons. You can, whoops, I pressed the wrong button there. You can add more buttons, and you can add more content components like quote, list, horizontal rule, etc. But yeah, this is, not the big focus of today's presentation, but it is another big piece to our content management system. And it has a lot of features that works right out of the box. They just give you an API to create, just like Strapi, just create anything you want if you want to. And that's actually what I did. I got rid of all the built-in tools and I just made my own, because I added this alignment, these small, large, this max width slider here, which it needs some work, but it definitely gets the job done. Let me reset that. Like I said, need some work. Anyway, we'll save this and I'm going to publish it. In fact, no, let's look at one thing first. Let's look at the preview button. So we haven't published it yet, but let's look at the preview. How are we doing on time, by the way? 10 minutes left?
Yeah, 10 minutes left, and we should leave a bit of time for question.
Cool, almost done here. So here's our front end page. We're in preview mode. It did not render the header component because we haven't made that yet, but it's ready to go. And if I look in our console, we have our block component saying, hey, this content demo header doesn't exist. But if we look over here, I can give you a glimpse. This is what that block looks like. There's your image data, your content blocks. So when we typed text, you have paragraph and buttons. Everything is a JavaScript object describing the HTML. It's not a string of HTML, which is really nice. And you even have options here, like that max width feature that I touched. Let's go back. And then I'll show you what it looks like in the API, and then we'll build that other component really quick. I'm going to delete this really fast. I set the max width. Let's click save. Let's click publish. Let's open a live view again. It's going to go back to this page. Get rid of that. All right. So on this end, where's our page number? 693. Let's go to the API just so you get a quick glimpse. 693. Just save, published. Waiting for it. Here we go. Here's your API response, and here's your content. Here's our 3 content blocks that we created. Here's our disclaimer that we created, meta content blocks. Like, it's all in there. Same thing I showed you in the console. It's all right here. So let's go create this new content block. Here we are in our code base. So this is Next.js. We're done with Strapi. Let's go create a new component. So I'm just going to duplicate some stuff here. We call it demo header. And this is how I go about creating anything new, pretty much. Take an existing component, copy it, and modify it. The one that we have is very similar to hero header. We're going to call it demo header. Up here, and now I'm just going to start deleting things. And I have time to do this, so we're almost done. Add in ratio element here. Just getting rid of things that we don't need. Almost there. Looks like there's more to go, but there's really not. All right. I don't know if you do this when you're programming, but I'm always sitting here thinking and going, okay, all right, what's next? Just talking out loud. So sorry if I've done that too many times. Other thing to mention while we're here is we use Tailwind for CSS. It's amazing. I cannot stress that enough.
It is really good. I love how you're also chaining the classes in there.
All right, so let's see here. What else? Let's drop these things here. Almost done. I'm almost ready to send this to my team, have them QA and review it. I'm serious. I'm not going to mess with these image sizes or the demo. Let's look at what I did here. Let's also add our title. Title and 2. Now, final thing, just a few class names. I wrote them down so I don't have to remember them every time. Not stress significance of tailwind. This is the solution because. All right. Let me make sure there's no errors. No errors. No errors. Cool, cool, cool. Let me refresh because I was saving a lot and it kind of messed with Next.js dev tools a little bit. You're looking at the page, by the way. How long did that take? 10, 12 minutes? I kind of took my time.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, this is it. This is everything we created in Strapi right here on our page. Demo header spacer. Demo header spacer, blank content. And then over here, that's it. This button, I didn't even have to touch that. That just came from a block component that we use. It's not a very big component. I can show it to you. It's just, it takes an export file of block components. They're just components, just React components. And they set up a little bit of data because we're using editor.js and Strapi for components. So you have a couple of different properties to check. But that's it. It says, let's find the block, the supported block. Is it supported? Great, let's keep going. And then down here, it just renders whatever that is. This is a glorified component rendering. That's it. And honestly, like past what I've showed you, that's all you need to make and accept a WordPress style website using Strapi and Next.js. After that, it's whatever you want to do. But that right there is the page model, the component rendering. Everything else is just boilerplate that's handled by Strapi and Next.js.
That was awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt. Let's try to get some answers to the question that we got. The first one is from Marcus. I sorted them by upvotes. Do you consider directives as an alternative to Strapi? Did you consider it initially 3 years ago?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you consider directives as an alternative to Strapi when you made the choice 3 years ago, right?
I did not. I don't even think I know what that is.
How do you handle version control, Git for content type? How do you sync between developers and staging, etc.?
With syncing, it's all pretty much handled automatically with Strapi and Next.js. We're hosting Strapi with Heroku. It easily integrates with your GitHub repository and your application. It creates preview links and everything. Strapi Cloud, however, you can do the same. I'm pretty sure you do the same exact thing. But yeah, it's all pretty much done for me. I don't have to do much with that.
Next one, how do you handle nested pages slugs, seeing as Strapi does not support hierarchical content types?
Yes, that was one of the things we had to create for ourselves. WordPress has permalinks. That's the term they use. And so that's what I created as a plugin called permalinks. You can download it. You can use it. It does exactly what you saw. It does not create a database relation schema. It just uses lifecycle events and middleware to control everything. You saw me, I added a parent page to that demo page. If I deleted the parent page, it orphans the demo page, but I have it set up to where it'll give you a notification about that.
That's pretty neat. Would future version of Strapi still require a difficult migration process? I feel like Strapi is losing some points when it comes to upgrading to a newer version. Yeah, that's true. I think V3 to V4 migration was something we could have done better for sure. And we provided migration script and resources, but probably should have done that earlier in the process. That's definitely going to change with there's a new migration, data migration feature in Strapi, data migration and transfer. That should help. Also, Strapi Cloud should help with upgrade process. So yeah, that's definitely, we are aware of that and actively working on it. Is the slug field a custom field or built in?
It is a custom field. It is a clone heavily modified version of the UID field that's built into Strapi.
How often are you able to find existing community plugins for your requirements, and how often do you need to write your own?
I honestly don't need to look for plugins that often, but I do check. There are a few that I've used, like one that called Transformer. It just simplifies some of the REST API data that comes out of the API. I don't have to do it too often, and I usually can be excited to make my own.
And Vercel Deploy is one of them, right?
Yes.
Right. Is it possible to extend roles or add one more role in the community version via plugin, for example? Is it legal? Yeah, so the good news is like the role-based access control feature currently available in the enterprise edition is coming to the community edition in the near future. So that's the good news. It's coming soon. So just make sure to upgrade to the latest version when that comes out. How could I integrate socket.io to a Strapi project? There's a guide which can I read? So yeah, is there a way to integrate socket.io? I think there's a blog post, a tutorial now on our blog about that. Maybe somebody can find the link. We use WordPress multi-site and have multiple websites sharing one theme. Is there an equivalent use case for multi-sites in Strapi, for example, having different menus?
Yes, it's called creating a shared component library.
Yeah.
No special features.
Okay, I think, what is the build pipeline like for editors to be able to preview content before pushing it live on the site?
What is the pipeline?
The build pipeline like for content editor?
For a content editor, we're talking about just editing content or creating new features?
I think it's mostly the preview. You have that preview button, and so I think
Sure.
that's yeah.
Yeah, so right now you can edit a page. Let's say you're editing an existing page. Because you have to rebuild your application for your pages or for the changes to show up on the live website, you could switch it to unpublished and use like the preview button to preview it. That means only you would see that because no one else is going to be seeing it in preview, and the public is going to see the live static version of that page. Or you could create like a demo page and like a second page and then rename it later. In the future, Strapi is going to have a better publishing, a more robust publishing feature where you're not just working with one instance of a page. You're actually going to work with multiple drafts of the same page, meaning that preview button plugin will have to update to go along with it. But it's a pretty easy process. I'll admit there is probably a little back and forth of like previewing your page a little bit. But it doesn't take too long, and deploying the application takes 3 to 4 minutes at this point with 700 pages.
Nice. I know we're over time. Hopefully you all can join for a couple more minutes as we try to go through some of the remaining questions. How to go about starting a new project with content from an existing database? Well, as of today, there's a new data transfer feature available in Strapi 4.7, and you can leverage that to transfer data. Is it possible to have dependent drop-down relational fields? Country, state, city.
Relation fields are not that ready to use in like any situation that you want right now. You can do it, but you'll have to do some of the programming yourself. Like I said, one of my plugins doesn't create any database schema. It uses lifecycles and middlewares to manage that activity. You can do it. You just, with relations, you might have to do a little programming yourself.
Yeah, I think we have by the way, a public roadmap available at feedback.strapi.io, and I think there is an entry for conditional fields. I think that that I don't know exactly if that's on the short-term roadmap, but I think there's an entry for that if you want to go and upvote it. Okay, I think we have one more question. I have a WordPress website with approximately 350 nodes and maybe 20-page layout content models. What would be a typical workflow to change this to this new stack?
First thing you need to do is you need to identify all your features in WordPress. You need a list. You need a list of your page types. Your page types, like the page layouts and everything, they're just going to be components in your Next.js application. But the strongest thing you can do is list your features. If it's on the list, then it gets to move from one app to the next. And if it's buried in your application and everybody forgot about it, let it go. But yeah, just make a list of your features, and remember, everything is either going to be a React component, a plugin, a middleware, a lifecycle hook. It has a place to go. It's not like WordPress where you have to invent a place for it to go.
All right. I think we worked through most of the question. I want to give a big thank you to Matt and Nicholas for being with us today, especially at 2 a.m. And Matt, that was an awesome demo. Thank you for sharing all the goodies and the live demo.